Good morning. This is the Innovation Conversation. How you doing, Tom?
Well, good, Kevin. Good morning to you.
Good to see you. So I wanted to ask you, there's been a lot of stories in the media lately about some of the, I'm not even sure consolidation is the right word, but some of the alliances that are being created with some of these delivery companies. Amazon has now got to deal with Grubhub. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you are automatically a Grubhub Plus member, I think it is. Um, if Amazon, as they say, if 75% of the country is an Amazon Prime member, which seems high to me, but that's the number people talk about. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of Grubhub
Hmm.
members. Um, Uber Eats is working with Instacart. At the same time, DoorDash is moving outside its traditional sort of restaurant business and moving into a lot of supermarkets. There just seems to be a lot of stuff going on. At the same time as some of the ultra fast services are sort of tanking because their business model didn't allow for the possibility of traffic lights. Um, Can't ever get past that. And I've used the joke 1,000 times, but it never gets old. But I guess I'm wondering, when you look at all that stuff happening, what is your sense of it? Are there, are we looking at eventual mergers? Are we looking at acquisitions? Is there going to be so much consolidation that there's only going to be two or three services out there and they're all going to have to be aligned with somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. There clearly are. I mean, there's not as many services as there were, right? I mean, there were, gosh, for the call it the eight that exist today. I don't even know if it's four or if it's eight, but some smallish number that are very prevalent, right? Um, there were dozens more, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, getting there. So the strong are surviving. They're building their own kind of customer bases, that are large enough in their own revenue models, that generally are such that they're able to become sustainable standalone businesses. They're not all there yet, but these ones have the scale, have had the backing, now have the scale, are developing the models, where they can be ongoing reliable services. Um, it does stand to reason that there would be some more consolidation among them. I think on the other side, on the retailer side, we leave restaurants kind of, well, I guess restaurants are certainly still part of it, but um, you know, particular to the grocery side, everybody pretty much realizes that to make the pick, pack, and deliver model work is hard. Certainly requires lots of precision in the business, and really does require you to charge the customer for it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there's more room to do it poorly and hurt your brand than there is to do it well and uphold your brand, right? So it's just hard. So I think relying on third-party services that are built to do this, while potentially non-differentiating, is a pretty reasonable route, for the retailer, in many cases the restaurant, also to go. So consolidation, yeah, probably. Um, but is this a kind of a service model that has legs and will stay? I think probably is.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Even a company like Amazon, right, which has more resources than God, um, uh, uh, they tried a lot of these kinds of things, right? With restaurant, I had Amazon Restaurant, they had a lot of different services, and even they're doing business now with Grubhub, right? I mean, they decided that it made more sense for them to create an alliance. That who knows if I guess if it works out, that could turn into an acquisition. Um, Depending on, of course, on what the FTC says. But
Right.
it's interesting. Even Amazon recognized that for certain components of what it wanted to offer, it made sense to create an alliance as opposed to try and reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally agree. It's not like many of these experiments that Amazon does. You're able to kind of get the level of traction, be able to see the path forward to it becoming kind of large and sustainable and value added part of the business.
Right.
But not everything gets there. You would tend to think that given Amazon's Prime membership base, given its employee base, given its network of facilities that are out there and whatnot, that this is a space, that Amazon could reasonably work its way into. And it is still doing a fair amount of that, right? Amazon is doing, delivery and logistics services, fulfillment services for lots of grocers now.
Right.
And, we've had many discussions. Is that, a future key component, of their grocery model? It very much could, very much could be. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's, I don't think Amazon's made their final call on where they're going. But I'll say as a Prime member, having I would, and I'm not nearly as adoptive of these delivery services as say my kids are. Like
Right.
the kids' first, thought if they're hungry at, 1 or 2 in the afternoon is, they just literally get on their app and they order from wherever, it shows up. I'm like, man, can you be any lazier? Right? Like, you know, first of all, make something. Uh, second of all, just get in the car and go, like, get out, go get,
Oh no, my
go
kids
out.
think I'm yeah, they think I'm impossibly old because if I'm ordering pizza or if I'm ordering Chinese food or something like that, I order it, but then I go pick it up because I'm just convinced I'm always going to get it faster and hotter.
I love that. Well, for Father's Day last year, 2 years ago, my kids got me one of those warming bags. Uh, and I literally, I'll go pick up
Ah,
pizza and I'll put it in the warming bag. I'm like, I'll be
that's
the
so
delivery guy.
what a great present.
It is. It's awesome.
But it's interesting to me because I mean, when you look at some of these restaurants, pizza parlors, Chinese restaurants, whatever, they're not just doing business with Grubhub, right? They're doing business with Grubhub, but they're doing Uber Eats, they're doing DoorDash,
Mhm.
they might have six, a half a dozen different delivery services with which they're doing business. I go to when I'm going to pick up Chinese food, it's fascinating. There's this table for people like
Mhm.
me who are picking it up, and it's one table, and then they have like five tables over there, which is all the pickups they're doing from the thing. And I you know I understand the logic, and I said, and there are retailers who do that as well, right? There are retailers that are working with a bunch of different delivery services, and I get the idea that you want to do that so you get broader exposure in terms of customers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it also seems to me at some point um, it becomes commoditized. It becomes undifferentiated, right? You're part of that. There's nothing about it that says I'm special.
Right.
So if you were a retailer, would you? So I guess I'm saying it's a trade-off, right? There's on the one hand, you want as much exposure as possible, but you also want to figure out ways to differentiate yourself. So how do you find that balance?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's super important. And I think, to your point from the restaurant side, if I'm a small Chinese restaurant or I'm a small burger stand or a pizza shop, um, and I have a marketing budget and I have a reputation, and that can take me so far. But having access to the customer bases of these big apps, there's some real benefit there, right? In getting that draw. If you think about grocery retail, um, I think you're right that it is ultimately these services are non-differentiating, right? And I think in a way that's probably okay, right? I mean, if there was like a white glove, certain type of experience, like I don't know, maybe it could be like the Walmart in-home deal, where maybe there is a service that you trust to come in your home.
Right.
Okay, well that could be differentiating, right? But as far as getting the stuff to your door, having stuff be the right temperature, not be broken, courteous service, right? That should all be table stakes. Um, and done right, it's not going to hurt your brand. May not help your brand on its own, right? But it doesn't hurt your brand, and I think that's probably okay. If your brand is strong enough from the quality of your offering, the quality of your products, whether that's private brand packaged products to prepared products to quality perishable products. differentiated offerings, store services, store environments, those things. If you can, if your reputation can be super strong in those areas, and you can build those relationships and maintain those relationships with your customers based on that, and for the portion of customers that want to have stuff delivered, you have an efficient and effective partnership to do that. I think that can be pretty good. And for a lot of retailers, you're taking that service on yourself can become cost prohibitive.
Right.
And in many cases, despite your best efforts, you're just not that good at it.
Yeah.
So, having these established platforms and established services doing that for you, I think can be good. And it can be additive to your brand in that you make it easier for customers to access you through ways that they prefer, while your brand still shines through those partner services.
I would think what that calls for, though, is sort of active management of those services, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a clear sense,
100%.
to be honest with you. I don't have a clear sense of the degree to which retailers are 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 intimately involved, are really paying attention. I mean, they must know the volume, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, are they are they actively involved in sort of managing that stuff? Are they getting to know? Are they impressing upon the Uber Eats, Instacart driver, DoorDash, Grubhub person, whoever it happens to be? Are they connecting with them in a way that allows them to reflect the brand? I mean, I don't know if you remember, a year or so ago, I did a piece about the guy who was picking, the Instacart guy who was picking out corn at Stu Leonard's, and said, well, I'm not, and was putting stuff away, saying, no, they don't, I'm not bringing that to my customers, which I was found, refreshing. Um, but I wonder how many retailers are managing that experience.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I mean, I think it's really key, and I think better retailers are more actively managing it generally, right? Retailers with better brands, retailers with better customer centricity, they are much more actively managing that than others. And I would imagine that most have, I should know this, but I would imagine that most have SLA, service level, agreements in place with them, right? Like delivery metrics as far as, on-time deliveries, customer rating metrics, right? Those kinds of things. And frankly, probably also the ability to let comments even pass through. Um, so I think it's key. You
Right.
definitely have to have those metrics and have those managed. And I think it's imperative for the delivery services to have those, and and want to deliver on those. Your point about, I remember the story on the Instacart person, doing the Stu Leonard's piece, and it's interesting that to the management of that, right? Like you definitely want the Instacart person to deliver the best to your customers, or to deliver at least representative quality, if not best quality, to your customers. One of the big challenges with in-store picking, whether it's your own people or others, is that the better products do tend to get grabbed more quickly,
Hmm.
and you can inadvertently decay your store service level based on better stuff getting picked
Right.
from the outside. So in this case, right, if this Instacart rep is pulling back the corn, and then putting it back, and then you've got this bunch of your displays really picked over, that's a negative to the in-store experience. So it really has to be actively managed, from kind of both perspectives.
Yeah. I've always thought that one of the things that annoys me as a customer is if I'm at a supermarket and I'm on line behind one or two, of these pickers,
Delivery.
right? Delivery people. I've always thought one of the things that retailers should do is have a dedicated lane for those folks for two reasons. First of all, it gets them out of my way as a shopper, because you don't want to diminish my experience in the
Yeah.
store.
Yep.
The other thing it does is it allows them to have a connection to that picker. right? It allows them to interact with it. Hey, did you find everything you needed?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's great.
do you have any problems?
Good idea.
How can how can I help you serve our customers better? Right? It seems to me that there's a way to create greater
Yeah.
interaction that would serve both the retailer and the shopper.
It seems to me you could have a lane, a lane or two lanes, depending on your volume, dedicated to that. And then with the understanding that, you're probably not always going to have pickers going through it.
Right.
So like staffing that, you wouldn't want to have a lot of idle labor there, but you could sign it such that, these lanes are dedicated delivery partner lanes. Feel free to use them, customer.
Right.
But they're going to be dedicated to our
Right.
partners.
And by the way, I would, as a retail, if I were a retailer, I might say, hey, listen, if you're with Instacart or whoever, and you come into the store, let us know that you're here, because we'll make sure we have an express lane set up for you, so you can get out quickly, get in the
Yeah.
car, and get it up. I
Win-win.
mean, you can. There's ways to to maneuver or manipulate this so that you're serving that picker as well as serving the shopper, and you're making the store experience work better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem, of course, I'm a cynic about this, is that when retailers when they sign up with these services, right? One of the things that they do when they outsource stuff is there can be, not always, but there can be okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
That's off my plate. That's somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
But as e-commerce becomes a steadily growing part of the grocery experience, grocery volume, you know, maybe it's 15% now, but it's going to get to 20. It's going to
Yeah.
get to 25. It's going to get to 30, because your kids and my kids aren't going to change their habits as they get older. In fact, they're
Mm-mm.
probably going to use them more rather than less.
Yeah.
There'll be more demands on their time. That's a lot of volume to go like that, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it really has to be viewed as partnership, not outsourced.
Right,
Right. Outsourcing is pretty dangerous.
right.
You're losing grip on your brand and your brand experience, and that's a dangerous place to go.
Yeah. Yeah. An alliance suggests that both parties are being proactive about implementing their strategies and their tactics and achieving their goals.
Yeah. And done
Outsourcing,
well, they both win.
yeah. What outsourcing is just moving it off the table, which isn't a
Yeah.
smart thing to do.
Correct.
Good place to end. Thank you, as always. I know it's been pretty hot out in the Pacific Northwest, so bear up.
Oh yeah, we got it. Thanks
Take
everyone.
care. See you soon.